Hello, my mysterious mutts. Do we say the podcast first or do I just say my name? I don't know. Rob's not here. Hello, my mysterious mutts. I'm Devin Shepherd.
I'm David B. Jacobs.
And we are the Cadaver Dogs. And surprise, we're here with an episode sooner than we said that we would be, but we had to do it this time. We had to talk about this movie.
It's a mini-sode. It's
a
gonna
mini-sode.
be very off the cuff. We're doing minimal editing.
No, they're not.
Totally will.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm
Since
good.
I saw you
I'm
yesterday.
good. I know. Yeah, we saw each other yesterday, though we were, I want to say, at least 10 beers deep yesterday. So it's good to see you a little bit sober.
I don't think I was 10
neither. 5 pitchers? I don't know.
There were like a dozen of us.
Yeah. No, but I'm good. It feels good to be back in the chair, I think. I mean, obviously we're missing Rob, but I feel like I've been really missing talking about horror movies. So I'm just really excited to get this going again. I feel like I'm going through withdrawal because I've been trying to sit down and watch a horror movie, but I'm like, I have no one to talk to about this anymore because we're like, when like horror is your job and you kind of like want to take a break from it for a second. I don't know. It's like that weird thing where like you're working while you're relaxing. You know what I mean?
I've been going through so many waves. Early in the year, I went through a classic movie wave. Then I went through a big video game wave, thanks to Resident Evil 4. Then I read comic books for like a month straight after Spider-Verse. Then I started doing all three interchangeably. And now I'm playing Resident Evil 1 again. I beat the 3-hour time, so I'm happy about that.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
This is what happens when there's a strike going on and there's no work.
There's a strike. I have nothing to do with my time. That's not true. I have people to see and video games to play.
Are you going to pick it at all?
Pick what? My nose?
Pick it? Are you going to pick it? No.
I should. I'd rather go with someone. If you ever want to pick it with me, then I'd be down to do that.
Yeah, I also should. So I think, maybe we should do that. I know in LA they had a horror day. I wonder if they'll have one in New York with SAG.
Cool.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I'd be happy to get a group together and get on the front lines.
Yeah, if anyone wants to come out in New York and pick it with us, hit us up. Yeah, things have been fucking stressful, man. I feel like, I don't work in film directly anymore, but obviously all of my friends do. And it is just like a looming shadow and just like high stress and just like fear and hatred. It's like a real life horror movie, but constant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you're feeling that more than I am.
Yeah, you remember when I had that anxiety attack like 2 months ago when the writer's strike first started? That was fun.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, just like straight up panic attack in my shower.
Well, actually, you do have exciting news. We can get off the bad news. You have exciting news.
Yeah. So I made a short horror film last year called Pillow Talk. It's 5 minutes. Man wakes up next to a strange woman who may or may not be human. No dialogue. It's very like David F. Sandberg-esque. And it is playing at 2 upcoming festivals. The first one is in Los Angeles. It's Midsummer Scream, which is a film festival, but also a horror convention. And I'll be there. I'm flying out there. It's going to be really fun. And we're screening there on Sunday, July 30th at 1:30. So if you guys are going to Midsummer Scream, you should check out that block and see my short film.
I'm so mad I'm missing that one. There's going to be like so many good people at Midsummer Scream. I'm so sad.
Yeah, they got like Tom Holland, not the Spider-Man Tom Holland, the Tom Holland that we've talked about. There were other names there as well. I don't have them on me. There's a lot of names there. You guys should look it up.
The Boulet brothers are going to be there, and I'm way upset that they announced it after I decided I wasn't going to go. I don't know if anyone else out there watches Dragula, but I'm obsessed. And yes, I love the Boulet brothers.
I know Peaches Christ will be there.
Oh my God. No, I didn't know that. My heart.
Now you do.
Fuck.
Yeah, and then for those of you in New York, we have another festival in August called the Festival of Cinema NYC. I've been to this one before, actually. I've screened there before. It's a really good festival.
And I'll be at this one.
Yes. And that one's screening at Friday, August 11th at 11:30 at night. So it's going to be a great like midnight screening of this movie. We're introing a feature film that I know nothing about.
Is it a horror film?
And I think it's thrillery. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think
Still
it's a
same
thriller.
genre,
Yeah.
ish.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. And that one is playing in a Regal theater.
I'm excited. Well, I have and before we move on, I have one more thing to plug as well, actually,
Please.
while we're on the topic. Yeah, so my other job, I work in a podcast company. We do genre and horror, and I am actually going to be on a show come this fall called Stories to Keep You Up at Night, and they are creepy horror tales that are very good. They're fiction. They're awesome. They're kind of like a listen to them as you fall asleep or listen to them around the fire and get really creeped out. They're very creepy, but I'll be co-hosting that show.
Is it like narration style?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like someone reading you a creepy story.
I love this. That's
They're
awesome.
good, man.
I'm excited.
I'll post when it comes out exactly, but it's going to be last weekend of September all through October for spoopy season.
Sweet. It's exciting.
Well, I'll get us off of here. Thank you for giving us time to plug some stuff. But I am excited to move on to the reason why we're here on our first mini-sode. Insidious, The Red Door, Insidious 5 came out a couple weeks ago now. We're a little bit slower on this one, but we wanted to jump in and give our review. So here's how this mini-sode is going to work. Basically, David and I are going to give spoiler-free reviews for those of you that have not yet seen the film. And then in the second half of our episode, we'll talk more spoilers and talk a little bit about the themes and our impressions of the movie. And then, of course, can't help but talk about all the other Insidious films. So
Yeah,
we'll give our
obviously.
rankings as well. Obviously.
It's been a while since I've seen the second and third movies, so
I knew that I was going to go see Insidious 5 the weekend it came out, and I think I had the day off beforehand, so I just binged all of the movies within 24 hours.
I watched the fourth one before seeing the fifth, only because I hadn't seen it before.
Oh, shit.
Did you see all of them when they came out?
Yeah.
I think this is actually my first time seeing an Insidious movie in theaters.
Oh, wow. What?
Yeah.
I guess, well, now I'm trying to wonder. So I love Lee Winnell or Winnell, however you say it. I don't know. It's
I don't
fucking
know.
Australian. There's an accent. I love him so much. And I'm trying to figure out if I became more obsessed with him after the Insidious films or if I like was in love with him before.
And when you say in love with him, do you mean John C. Reilly in love with him or Robert Englund in love with him?
Like Ty West in love with him. Like I madly respect him as a filmmaker. I could care less what he looks like. So yeah, I guess John C. Reilly in love.
I imagine all our audience who hasn't listened to those previous conversations were probably trying to figure out which one was which. So
I have many loves. Well, so were you always a fan of the Insidious films when you finally did watch them? Or are you not a fan of them? Oh, you are.
I'm a fan of the first one.
Oh, interesting. They're all very different movies, I will say. And I think the fifth installment keeps that going. It is a very different film from the first four.
That's true. It is. It's a lot more. First, did you like this new one?
It's why is that a hard question? No, I really enjoyed it. I didn't not like it.
Okay. I liked it.
You liked it. Yeah. Okay, cool.
I liked
Great.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it like a fantastic film in terms of like
No.
it's breaking boundaries and like gonna win awards? No. Fuck no.
It's not even the first time they opened the red door.
No, this film does hit a lot of lore that is presented in the films. I will say this movie, for those of you that haven't seen it, takes place right after the first two.
10 years after.
Yeah, but it's after the first two rather than 3 and 4, which are prequels to 1 and 2.
Yes. So, an FYI, this is a spoiler-free section right now, but spoilers for those other movies may happen, so that this is your warning.
Yeah, good note, because we're going to do it right now.
For instance, all those twists in the first movie, they're astral projecting. The dad did it too. All those things are like kind of twists again in this movie, but we already know it. So that's a little.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what makes this film so interesting because, spoiler free, at the end of the second film, our main characters, Patrick Wilson, who plays Josh, and his son, Dalton, played by Ty Simpkins, who actually, what I did love, and I'll just interject my thought real quick with another one. I love that they kept all the same actors from the first two
Yes,
movies. The kid
same.
actors are, in fact, the same actors as this one. So
Yes.
they are young adults here, which is really cool. Yeah. So they, at the end of the second film, they are basically hypnotized to forget that they can astral project at all. So we meet them in 2023 where they can't remember, but spooky things begin to happen. And maybe, just maybe, they need to relearn.
Yeah, and that is interesting. This movie, I wasn't sure going into it that there would be a story there. Like, I was kind of like, why are we just going back to the same family and dealing with the same plot again, the same demons again, blah, blah, blah. But its angle kind of is to focus in on what happens after the haunting, so to speak. It is like, how has this affected them through their lives, and how has this repressed memory affected them through their lives? Right from the beginning of the movie, they're not necessarily in the best place. They're not necessarily better off for having forgotten. It isn't a happy ending that we're left to assume it would be. And I think that's interesting. I think that's cool. It's a lot more grounded in the dynamic between Dalton and his father, and I think that those familial elements, the melodrama of the movie, is like what's really interesting about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's such an interesting premise and a way to like bring us back to almost the tension of the first one. But what is cool, obviously, in this one is that Dalton, is a teenager and he's using this power as a teen instead. So he has a different relationship with it at this point. And then also on top of that, Josh, the dad, it's a totally new relationship for him. Don't really want to go through spoilers here, but a lot has happened since, the second chapter of Insidious, where Josh is pretty much a completely different person. So rediscovering this power for him is also a huge character experience, which is really interesting and something I want to talk about later on with spoilers.
Yeah, they also have the new character Chris, who is Dalton's friend, and I liked her.
I loved her so much. She was so
Yeah.
much fun. Yeah. I will say one thing about the Insidious franchise is that they always have fun characters. And I think Chris
Mm,
is just another addition to the universe, the Insidious
mm.
universe in that way.
Yeah, these movies they're cool because like they lean in for the jump scare thing, but they're also like really having fun with it. I mean, the first Insidious is like the lighter, goofier, but also scarier version of The Conjuring.
Yes, definitely goofier. And I will say this is like the lightest scare installment in the franchise. If you are going in like to expect something scarier, it's not even like the goofiest of the franchise. So I wouldn't expect that either.
Yeah, I mean it's scarier than the previous one, but I mean that might just say more about the previous
Oh,
one.
interesting. Maybe that's yeah.
Yeah,
They do have some fun scares in this one.
they do.
Actually, the first jump scare really got me.
Same. I know exactly
Yeah.
with the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about. I like that too.
That was a good one. There are some really great moments in here. And again, some just like I really love the advancement of the characters. I feel like you don't really get to see that a lot in horror films. Well, no, that's a lie. I guess you don't really get to see the 10 years later, same
Yeah,
characters.
yeah. We had Halloween did it with 40 years later.
Oh, that's true. Oh, you
Yeah,
are right. Yeah. And
and
they
that
do a
one did
great
it.
job. Yeah.
Yeah, at least 2018 Halloween did a good job with it.
Yeah. Some downs about this one that I didn't enjoy as much. I mean, again, I said it already. It's not as scary as I was
Yeah.
expecting it to be. I mean, look, it's Patrick Wilson's debut feature as a director. I think it shows. Not that that says anything negative about his direction. It's just I think he very much seems like an actor's director, which
Hmm.
is kind of harder to do in the horror world if you don't really have a lot of experience of working with, other crews and setting up tension. So I feel like there was a lot of lack in terms of like the execution artistically.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the good scares that we're talking about, I think, are mostly like early on, and I think
Yeah.
as it goes on, like the climax is kind of whatever.
It's whatever. I mean, something that they do is they recycle a lot of the same scares.
Yeah, yeah, Should we get into spoilers?
Well, I think before we get into spoilers, I would love for us to actually share our bone reviews. So the people that want to stop it here before the spoilers can hear what we think in terms of rating it.
Awesome.
David, I'll let you go first.
All right. So right after I saw this movie, I was like very high on it, and maybe like comparing it to the fourth one, maybe rate it very favorably, and I'd given like 2.5. But I'll bring that down to 2 bones because like it's been less than a week, and I'm already like I needed to look up some refreshers of it before coming into this. So it's not a movie that's going to stick with me, I don't think, but I did enjoy it, and I think that it is worth checking out. You don't necessarily need a rush to see it. Like if you watch it on streaming, you'll probably be fine, as long as it's dark outside. Yeah, it's absolutely worth watching. I had fun with it.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, I'm not really any different. I also left it really high and being like, I really liked that movie. I had a good time watching it. Obviously, again, not the greatest film in terms of execution. Definitely not as scary as I was hoping it would be. I'm back and forth between 2 and 2.5. I want to give it a 2.5.
Cool.
Yeah, for reasons that we'll get into. But yeah, I enjoyed it. But I agree. Watch it on streaming after you've binged all the other ones, and it's like 2 a.m.
So where does this rank for you among the Insidious franchise?
I think ranking this franchise was like the hardest. It was so hard for me because they're so different. I'm not in love with any of them. So I feel very lukewarm about them. They all kind of like meld together. And I'm sure this will be an ever changing ranking for me. Should I start backwards or forwards?
Whichever you prefer.
Okay, I'm going to start with my number 5.
Okay.
So Red Door is my number 5. I liked it, but I think just in comparison of the other ones, yeah, I had too much fun with the other ones. So they're all in different places for different reasons, and I'll let you know. So number 5 is Red Door. Number 4 is Chapter 3. I just thought this one was okay. I don't know. I didn't really like the main character. Some of the scares were really good. It just like stands out for me as something like completely different. So that's number 4. The first one is actually my third ranking.
What?
I know.
What?
I know. I did not like it when it came out.
Okay. That's different.
The first one is literally Poltergeist. It is the same fucking story as Poltergeist. I mean, Elise even says, it's not the house that's on it, it's you, blah, blah, blah.
I think that's why I was surprised that you didn't like it more.
No, it's just Poltergeist. And then they had the audacity to redo Poltergeist like 2 years later. I definitely liked the first one a lot more this last rewatch than I have in previous rewatches.
Okay.
My number 2 is The Last Key, which I know you hated.
Wait.
The one that is so ridiculous. I like it's so ridiculous that I love it so much because it's so different from everything else because it's goofy as fuck. And I just think it was like such a I don't know why it's my number 2. I just had so much fun watching it. It was so silly. And then obviously Chapter 2 is my number 1. That one's just so fucking freaky, and all of the horrors in it are like the things that scare me the most. So yeah, it's scary. I know it has a lot of problems. But it's the scariest one for me. It gave me so many nightmares in my first watch.
All right. I'll go the other way. I'll go from my first leaning to my last because my number 1 spot is the easiest. And as it goes down, it becomes harder for me. But different reasons. For me, the reason it's hard to rank is because it's been like 10 years since I saw parts 2 and 3.
Fair.
2 and 3, I don't really remember them. So anyway, with that said, my number 1 is obviously the first movie by like a full bone. Like the first Insidious is like easy 3 bones. I love it. I think it's amazing. I think it's so inventive. It is beautifully directed by James Wan. I like all the characters. I love the twists in it. It goes in such a radically different direction than you're expecting. And then the third act just becomes like, let's just make this an excuse to like do all the different ideas that we had and put them in one movie, and I love that. Licking his lips demon is scary. The doll demons are scary. All of them are scary except for the red faced demon. He's not scary. Except for him, all the others are scary. And the old lady ghost scared the ever living shit out of me 10 years ago. I thought she was so fucking scary.
Yeah, I didn't at all. I didn't think she was scary at all.
Yeah, she scared me a lot when I first saw it. Maybe because I was traumatized by The Shining, but
Fair.
yeah. My number 2 slot. Okay, this one's a little harder now because now I like have to compare movies that I remember to movies that I don't remember. But I'm I'm actually gonna give The Red Door my number 2 slot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you see how quickly those bone ratings jump down. It is very, very mid, and I like the family dynamics, everything we said already. And then my number 3, I'm just gonna have to give chapter 3 then, because I like that one. Why do I like it? I don't remember, but I remember that I liked it. Yeah, it centered on Lin Shaye, and I think I like that part of it.
I
So
mean, Lin Shaye in all of these fucking movies is
yeah,
my
she's the
dream.
best.
I want to be her. I love her. She is queen. I love that they brought her back for basically everyone. No spoilers.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna give the 4th movie, the what's it called? The last key? The last key. That one I'm gonna give my number 4 spot.
Did you like The Last Key?
No?
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't hate The Last Key.
Okay. I will take that.
Yeah, I didn't hate The Last Key. But the reasons I didn't hate it, I don't think were intent. I thought it was so bad it was funny.
No, yeah.
And
That's exactly why it's my number 2.
I gave it some points back for being like unintentionally funny at
Yeah.
times. It is very much not scary. I think there was like maybe one good jump scare in it.
Okay, but the story is scary. The story's freaky as fuck.
The story had potential. I like the idea that they're diving into like Lin Shaye, Elise's backstory. I like that. But like the way they go about it is also like really hammy,
I mean, yeah.
and it didn't work for me. And then like they're trying to introduce her nieces, these new characters, but they like don't actually establish those characters at all. And then there's the creepy thing where Lee Winnell, who's like 45 or whatever, and hitting on a teenager. So that was also
Yeah,
really
that
weird.
part is extremely weird, and I don't understand it. The whole
Yeah.
movie, they have older men with younger women. The whole movie. Like everyone in the movie, including the people in the past, are like with younger women. Like, why?
Yes.
What's happened?
So my last spot, by process of elimination, this is interesting. But I really did not like part 2 at all when I saw it. Yeah, I was
Oh, wow.
very mad at it. I mean, now looking back at it, I can say like, oh, it's probably because it was really transphobic. I don't think I was thinking of that at the time 10 years ago.
See, that's why I didn't like it when I first saw it because of that.
Yeah, I think at the time it was literally just they had this really scary ghost, the old lady, and then in the sequel they changed it, and now it's just like a trans woman, and I'm not afraid of trans women.
No. Well, and can I interject here too? Because, like, yeah, I mean, obviously, we've talked about this controversy a lot before on the pod. See,
Yeah,
here, Pet Cemetery, see, here, Incident in Ghostland. Like, this is a constant trope in horror that they did.
yeah,
This character is introduced in the first film. And what I find interesting, and I wonder if this is how they thought of it this way, is that in order to excuse the fact that they had a man playing a woman in order to make her look creepy in the first one, that they then tried to give a backstory that, oh, no, we always meant it was, not necessary. This is difficult to say, that this was not a man actor portraying a woman. This was a trans character as a woman. So
yeah.
it's therefore not problematic, question mark?
Makes it more problematic. The conversation around trans people has evolved so much just in the past 10 years. I think that at that point in time, this was not a problem that the industry was responding to. Jared Leto won the Oscar for playing a trans woman like after this came out. This was not something that people were discussing as something that was problematic, even though it was. But I don't think that they were writing into that necessarily. And I don't even think that's why I didn't like it, because I don't think I knew that much about trans people at that time. I just found it less scary. I thought that they ruined the mystery of the character and made her unscary. And that's the only thing I remember from that movie.
I respect all of that. Look, and I mean, like, I'd still give that one 2.5, 3 bones. Like, it's not my bone ratings don't really like differ that much from film to film, I think.
Yeah, I think that the first one stands head over heels above the rest, and in my personal opinion.
You're just a James Wan stan, so we'll.
I am a James Wan stan.
Yeah, you are.
We had really different opinions on *Malignant*.
Yes, we did. See that review. Well, I do want to move us along because we want to keep these shorter for you guys, these mini-sodes. So let's head into the spoiler section now.
Yes. Okay, so spoiler: when they paint over the red door, like the first thing when 30 minutes into the movie or whatever, when they're like, "Okay, we need to close the door," and I'm like, "Okay, so the first thing you should try is like, since you open it with a painting, you should try painting it shut, right?" And then they don't try that, and I'm like, I mean, it probably wouldn't work anyway. Like you would try it and then it wouldn't work, but then they don't try and I'm like, okay, well I guess they just assume it won't work. Then the end of the movie, they just do that and it works, and I'm just like, wait, really? Why didn't
Yeah,
you try that sooner? It's the first thing you try.
yeah, the rules in this movie, I don't understand them. They like it's a typical thing where it's like number 5 and now they're like, we're just going to add a bunch of new rules that have no place whatsoever in the previous 4 movies. We haven't talked about any of this shit, but yeah, why not just like say that he can paint in the spirit world? What?
Yeah, I mean, that didn't bother me too much. That's just like the reason I was surprised that worked was because I didn't take it as his painting is opening the door. I took it as he's tapping into his subconscious, and that's what's opening the door. Because, like, when
I
he makes
see.
the painting, it's his teacher tells him, search deep within yourself, don't even think about it, just paint. And then it's because
Yeah.
he's doing that that he winds up opening the door, because he is opening himself to these repressed memories.
That being said, I love that they made his character an artist. I think because
So
of that
much.
reason,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
it makes just so much more sense. And I said this before earlier, but I love the characterization of where they went. I love that he's a little brat to his dad. I love that they got divorced.
Same.
That was something that actually surprised me when I saw it. I was like, oh my god, wait, no fucking way, they're divorced. That fucking sucks because you see them go through these first 2 movies, and you're like, oh, they can fight anything, especially after Josh turns into a murderer in the second one because he becomes possessed. Like that's scary as fuck and so hard to go through, I'm sure, as Rose Byrne's character to like
Yeah.
see her husband terrify the children. But I love that they took that and played it into, no, these characters are going to have fucked up relationships now because that happened in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the second one that well. I wasn't sure throughout this if she remembered or not until they finally said it. I thought that they had all forgotten, but I guess just Josh and Dalton forgot. Everyone
Yeah.
else remembered, even the siblings, although they were kind of gaslit by their mom with good intentions.
Gaslit, but also very young to remember pretty much anything or understand what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, if your husband tries to kill you and your family with an axe, then it's kind of weird that they stay together. Like they do this in all the Conjuring movies. After that first
Yeah.
Conjuring movie, she's like trying to kill her two children. It's like, I'm sorry, I know you were possessed, but this relationship's fucked now. It's completely fucked.
Yeah. And that's why it feels realistic to me. That I feel like is where Patrick Wilson's understanding of character and the way that he directs his actors is coming through so strongly, and knowing where to really push certain points. I know he didn't work on the screenplay, but I think like he really captures that well in his direction.
And in his own performance too. I really liked his
Oh
performance in
my
this.
god.
He feels like half a person.
He does. And what I love most about this movie that happens in like the first like 15 minutes of the film, Patrick Wilson cries. He's a full-blown adult
Hmm.
man who sobs. And it is so beautiful to see that in a movie, let alone a horror movie, of like, this guy's going through shit. He's going to cry. He's not going to punch a wall. He's not going to like get an emo rock. This man's just going to sit in his car and cry. That was so beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. And even like the fight that they have at the college, in any other movie, this would usually feel really forced. Like we need to have them yell at each other. But in this one, it just felt natural for some reason. I was surprised how
Yeah.
much I bought it.
I think the relationship between the father and the son is really nicely done in this movie.
Yeah, surprisingly so.
Yeah.
Do you think it's resolved well?
Oh,
What I will add is that I feel like, and a lot of horror movies kind of do this, the setup is so compelling, but then at some point, it's like, okay, now we have to go fight these demons, and like that just becomes the new thing, and it almost sort of replaces the probably more interesting dramatic component of it. And then we get the like Tim sacrificing himself, and but not really, but yeah.
yeah. The sacrificing himself did seem a bit much,
Yeah.
but I do like that Dalton comes back for him and that we do have both of them at least showing that they're fighting for one another. And I think that's why I was satisfied with that. The relationship didn't necessarily need to resolve, it just needed to show that it was growing and that there still is love there and that these two can overcome the trauma that they went through in their earlier years, or at least want to try to overcome it.
Yeah. The ending to me largely feels like it reads like several different drafts of the script kind of thrown together and like they haven't finished it. They haven't
Mm.
streamlined whatever they're going for. It reads too much like they've been rewriting. So much of the resolution feels like it's some tease that Patrick Wilson is still in the further or something like that. I so much was waiting for that reveal, and then it just doesn't happen. And then Lin Shaye pops up, and then I'm like, oh my god, he's dead. And then she's like, oh, your mom, you'll get to talk to her eventually. And I'm like, okay, so he's not dead. He just saw Lin Shaye for some reason. Okay.
Yeah, I had the same exact thought. I was like, "Oh wait, he is dead? Oh fuck. I really was hoping he wasn't going to be dead." I mean, no benevolent ghost has shown up like that before in a movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it reads like they had an idea for some last minute twist and then they backed out of it. Which I mean, to be fair, like the first movie did that twist that he was
sure.
still in the further and his body was possessed. They already did that twist.
Great twist.
Amazing twist. Yeah. Yeah, the ending just kind of feels weak in general. The whole climax just is like
Yeah.
them not knowing how to resolve this plot.
Yeah, I agree. Lots of weakness there around. I do want to start wrapping it up, but I do want to say, I mean, we've said it multiple times, but what I really did love about this movie was the exploration and themes of masculinity and the fragility
Mm.
of and the relationships that men have with one another. I mean, specifically in this film, father and son seen through three different generations. It was just so refreshing to like see the theme explored in a wide way, I think.
Yeah, the movie is heavily trying to discuss generational trauma, which I guess the first one was as well, but not necessarily leading into it as much. It was more interested in its
Totally.
ghosts. But the generational trauma themes are definitely there in the first one as well, and played further in this one as we are now seeing Dalton begin to develop into what Josh was. And Josh was also repressed in the first one. He had repressed his memories of his childhood.
Yeah.
And now they're both going through that simultaneously. And the movie is kind of addressing like, well, this repeated with Dalton because Josh had repressed his memories to some extent because he wasn't able to guide his son through what he was going through. And maybe it's not healthy for them to be repressing this again.
Right. Which in the same way, Josh's father also did that to him
Yeah.
by leaving. Right. I mean, it's just being a parent in general, it's like, how are you going to fuck up your kids about trying to save them? Or how are you going to, it's like that complicated relationship that I think is done so well, which is, I do love that reveal at the end when Josh's father, you do end up learning that he was trying to save
Oh
Josh.
yeah. That
Yeah.
the ghost Josh had kept seeing the entire time had been his dad, except for the one time when it's the woman in black in the MRI machine, which is the best scene in the movie.
Oh my God. Our whole theater was like, I hate it.
And you know it's coming.
You know it. It was the only one that was done well, I think. But I agree with what you were saying earlier. I think through the first three, we hit the same themes. One and two, I think specifically more so, it's like parents, mothers, and now this one's fathers. But the imbalance of horror is where the ratings of these, I think, really change. Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, this is just because the movies aren't because there's been multiple movies using different metaphors. But it's interesting that they kind of come away with a bit of mixed metaphors because on the one hand there's like the abuse that he's like literally trying to kill them. And on the other hand, there's like the deadbeat dad who's like never there for his kid. It's like the opposite metaphors, but
I love
I
when
mean
when when Josh is like, I promise Dalton, I'm gonna get help. I'm gonna get help. And me in the audience thinking, "Oh, he's gonna go to therapy. Go, Josh. That's what you really need. You really should go to therapy. No, he's just gonna go get an MRI. Clearly his issue is physical.
then the MRI doctor tells him to go to therapy.
Yeah. It's like, wait, why was your first instinct to get an MRI and not to go to therapy?
It makes some sense to me because it does seem like there's something literally wrong with his brain. I mean, what I kept thinking of actually was long COVID. That I don't know if you've
Oh.
ever spoken to people with long COVID, but I felt like a lot of Patrick Wilson's performance was kind of mirroring that.
In terms of him being foggy and
Yeah.
not sure what's different about him, but something has changed significantly.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really sad.
Yeah, it sucks. But again, why masculinity is such an interesting exploration here because, masculine traits tell you, yeah, fight that stuff down. Like it's physical. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't cry. Like that kind of like old school way of thinking. I think that's also something that we see his character struggling with, is like being willing to open up to that emotional side of him, which in turn then brings him back to the further,
Yes.
but allows him to harness a power for good or for evil. I don't know.
I like that you talk about masculinity specifically in this regard because there is a thing in our society where men are taught to repress emotion and to
Yes.
pretend like there's nothing wrong, which I think we're starting as a society to recognize as toxic and to combat, which is good. We should combat that. It's a bad philosophy.
Yeah.
Men should not repress their feelings.
Which is why Patrick Wilson crying in the first 15 minutes of the film is such a big fucking deal and so perfect for what they're talking about with the themes of the movie. Because I agree. I agree, David.
Do you have any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, just, for those still listening, I mean, let us know if you like these reviews. We kind of want to keep doing more of them for newer films that come out. We're going to try to see some good stuff. I think there's a lot of good horror movies coming out within the next year.
Yeah.
So let us know. Hit us up on Twitter at cadaverdogspod, on Instagram at cadaverdogspod, or if you just want to send us an email, we're cadaverdogspodcast@gmail.com.
And if you want to check out those festivals that I mentioned with Pillow Talk, those links will be in the description.
Cool. Well, it's good to be back, dude. I'm happy that we're here.
So am I.
All right. See you, pup.
Peace.